Might as well start the list with the moment that started the series, basically. From Porkchop and Flat Screen Episode 2, or now it's Episode 4 after I renamed it, because I actually made this episode before the episodes that came after, even though this takes place after. Well, anyways, the moment is when Mai finds out that Bobby is an angel and blackmails him into dating Ayane. The reason this moment is important is because pretty much everything after this indirectly happened because of it. Now technically, the character of Mai is pretty old. She's from like the early 90s, 1993 when I was younger. But as time went on, I sort of developed the character and her design, and it was really inspired heavily by this character, Makoto from Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, which came out in 1999. Like Mai's current look is heavily inspired by her. If you look at the scarf around the neck and the short hair and the attitude, it's very Makoto-esque. And so it was a pretty important moment for Mai to be facing her inspiration, the Queen of the Tomboys, Makoto. When Mai returned to school, she was greeted by something she didn't quite expect: an adoring fan base. The Mai fangirls, led by Blue, who seems to like wearing purple, Cookie, whose name comes from the Vietnamese word for radish, Kukai, because her head's sort of shaped like a radish, and then Hana, whose hippie parents gave her a Japanese name, Hana, for flowers. That's why she does those haikus all the time, because she's a weeb. They really like Mai. They took a big liking to her and sort of annoy her, to be honest. But as it turns out, in the future, these characters will actually help Mai develop a new direction in her character, from sort of the angry loner to more of a teacher. But more on that later in future episodes. So a long time ago, I recorded a cover version of the second Naruto theme, Haruka Kanata by Asian Kung Fu Generation, which is a great band, by the way. My favorite song is Blue Train. You should check that out. Anyways, I never actually made like a full animation with that song, so I decided, what the heck, I'd make an animation with Mai and Sakura fighting, because Sakura's kind of whack in the actual anime, so I wanted to, make her look cool. It should be totally obvious by now that I really like Naruto, and it's been a huge influence on my series, my artwork, and my animations and stuff. I mean, I haven't exactly been very subtle about it. One of my favorite episodes was episode 9. I believe it was 9, that's right. It's where it actually showed the spiritual world, like the purgatory, sort of the border between the living world and the afterlife. It's when Mai and Ayane are on the verge of death, and if they want to come back to life, they have to sort of make their way through the life door in order to recover. But due to circumstances, Mai and Ayane can't do it together. Like it's one or the other. So Mai shows how much she cares for Ayane by sacrificing herself and making sure that Ayane lives and gets through that door. And for me, that was a pretty pivotal moment for Mai, because she actually ends up dying. Even now, she's actually technically dead, but through circumstances she managed to make it through the life door thanks to Mina helping her inadvertently. But that death actually has effects, which we'll see. Number 5. Thanks to sort of her, like an exploit, like a speedrunner exploit, she managed to cheat death and come back to life, but the energy that she had, that death energy, sort of takes over her body, takes over her mind and her emotions, and she becomes what we call Black Dog, which is like sort of her death-powered version, I guess you could say. Incidentally, the name Black Dog comes from the Led Zeppelin song, Black Dog, for all you music fans out there. Fortunately, she doesn't have this form anymore because the Stick Bandit came and took it away from her in a later episode, but for a while, she was quite a menace. Fortunately, Ayane was there to stop her from totally losing herself, losing her mind and her identity to this power, to her anger. Can't talk about Ninja Girl Mai without mentioning her ninja weasel, Jubei II, which she named after her big brother Jubei. Now, Jubei II is a Kame Itachi, a sickle weasel, a scythe weasel, but not a real one. A real one is like a Japanese folklore yokai demon type thing. Jubei II was actually an injured weasel that had no tail that Mai found in the forest. So she nursed it back to health, and attached the scythe to where the tail would be, and trained it to fight along her side. Fun fact, Jubei II is actually female, but I don't think Mai knows that, which is ironic because people mistake Mai for a boy all the time too. Now you can't have a Jubei II without having a Jubei I. Mai's big brother, Jubei, was her biggest hero and basically the person who took care of her for most of her life, back when they were orphaned and adopted by a Japanese ninja clan. Mai's entire purpose for coming to the school in Pork Chop and Flat Screen Episode 1 was to avenge the death of her clan and her big brother. So it was very shocking for her to find out that her brother was actually alive, and even more shocking when he attacked her. It was his way of trying to protect her from the dangerous path she had been walking. But for Mai, it was a pivotal moment of reflection, confronting her own weakness. You know, throughout the history of my comics and my animations and stories, there have been many pairings, many different combinations of characters. For example, in the Trio Comics days, the main pair used to be Mina Kim and Bobby. That used to be like one of the main stories. Also in Rock Opera, that was sort of a thing, Bobby and Mina. And also, over time, Ayane came, and Ayane and Bobby, that was a combination. There was even a time when I thought the Stick Bandit and Mai would be a pairing. So, you know, I take the soap opera approach where, you know, everyone gets a turn with everyone else. See, just to explore what that's like. But I think by far the most popular pairing that I have is Mina Kim and Mai. According to the polls, according to the comments I see, people seem to like them very much. And it makes me happy. I'm glad I explored that relationship more in the Pork Chop and Flat Screen timeline. Not just because people like the pairing, but also because the tension between these two characters has been a driving force for the story for 10 years now. I guess that's the power of Maina, or Minai, or whatever you call the pairing. I mean, you had to see this coming, right? The series is called Pork Chop and Flat Screen. Pork Chop being Ayane, Flat Screen being Mai. So of course the number one, most pivotal, most important, most defining moment in either character's story would be when they meet each other. Mai would be an angry, violent, antisocial little ball of rage without an Ayane there to pull her back, calm her down, and bring her back down to earth. Meanwhile, Ayane would be a quiet, unseen wallflower, bullied and pushed around by others. If it weren't for Mai there to help her stand up for herself and protect her. So the two characters, they complement each other. And no matter how much they fight, and they do fight a lot, their bond could never be broken.